with the current National Guard being deployed in D.C., right now it is August 12th, 2025, at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The National Guard was deployed in D.C. This is following the events in which Trump federalized the National Guard in Los Angeles. That was the first instance of martial law. Here we have the second instance of martial law, triggered by, and by the way, I'm all fucking for this, but Edward Coristine, who is, I'm sorry, I should call him by his preferred name, BigBalls. BigBalls was beaten up in an alleged carjacking. There's an image of it, and I'm not going to show the image here because I don't want YouTube and Twitch to remove my video and stream. So I think it might actually break toss. But what I will do is for the YouTube video, I will link to a Proton-hosted link of the image, and you can see BigBalls covered in blood. It doesn't look like he's been stabbed, but he has been beaten, and I do appreciate that. So, quick shout out. I want to highlight, first off, the shooter of Brian Thompson. Man, you were the first guy who I said, who made me think, oh my god, we have a chance. Don't just mope around. We can fight. Love that guy. The group that attempted to shoot the ICE facility in, I think it was Southern Texas, right? Awesome. We need more like that. The protesters in, was it Philadelphia? Yeah, that was the one. Just seeing those protesters, watching it live on twitch.tv/woke, where they're streaming the protests. That's actually how I found twitch.tv/woke. I was more of a passive political observer that made occasional commentary, before the events and the 2024 election. So I was not very involved. Shame on me, perhaps, but I did vote for Kamala, so I can at least proudly proclaim that I vote every year. Every year I vote. Local, state, and federal. And now to the group of teens. Whatever their motives might have been, we do not know. We have no... I don't believe the teens involved were arrested or found. But seeing that image of BigBalls, he was the one I was always the most mad at. I was actually thinking of going back into his house because I was born near and then mostly raised in Connecticut. So I was gonna see if I could maybe connect with someone and crash at their place so that I could go in and burn down Coristine house. It didn't go anywhere with that, but he made me that angry that I was thinking of that for a little bit. It's the combination of being smug and completely untalented and then causing the destruction of 400,000 federal jobs. I mean, and it was mostly that last point. I've dealt with smug assholes who think they know everything when they know nothing. There's quite a few people online I've had to deal with like that. And I just block them and move on. But when you cause 400,000 jobs to be lost, I kind of have to do something then. Or not do something, but I feel like I want to. Anyways, Edward Coristine got the shit beaten out of him, so that was cool. In front of his girlfriend, too. Ooh. Allegedly, his girlfriend was being carjacked, and then he stepped in and got the shit beaten out of him. To which I say, congratulations to those teens for finding the one federal worker that has no federal protections. Because as far as I know, he isn't even legally a federal worker, he's just an insurrectionist. Anyways, Edward Coristine, aka BigBalls, Trump, despite his falling out with Elon, was quite upset to find out that BigBalls was beaten up by many, paraphrasing here, 14, 15, 16-year-old gang members looting and shooting and whatever else Trump said, who gives a fuck. Some kids beat up a smug asshole. And Edward Coristine, I think 20-year-old he is, instead of, treating this like an issue of him being a prick and getting the shit beaten out of him, or maybe if maybe it was a genuine assault, and then what you do is report it to police. No, he has to make it a fucking social issue. and get the president to send in the National Guard, to federalize the National Guard in D.C. I will also note, though D.C. is a blue area, the chief of police said, and it would not denounce Trump's actions, and actually said that, quote, something needs to be done. According to this AP News article, there was a killing of a 21-year-old congressional intern, and of course the beating of BigBalls. And I'm trying to not show the actual image because I'm sure YouTube would be more than happy to use that as a reason that I shouldn't be allowed to have my videos up anymore, which frankly is gonna happen anyways. Let's be honest, they're gonna ban me eventually. I kind of thought I'd be banned a month ago, actually, from Twitch and YouTube. I'm shocked that I haven't been. Like, I know no one actually pays attention to my videos. I have, like, a handful of people that watch and 70-something subscribers on YouTube. So I'm not, like, shocked that this isn't news that I'm saying this, but I kind of thought their AI systems or whatever detection would see the words and flag it for human review. Or just flag it for AI review and then call it human review because YouTube doesn't have any accountability and just will lie all the time. Anyways, that did not happen, so I still make videos and I'm still allowed to upload things, which kind of shocked me. I really didn't expect that. I didn't expect to still be allowed to interact with, you know, the internet and Twitch right now. I kind of figured they'd ban all my main accounts. I don't know, I'm still reeling from losing my Twitter account, though. Fuck that. Elon Musk, fuck you for destroying Twitter. Like, right now, you shouldn't have Twitter. You should delete your Twitter. X account. You should delete your X account. But if you haven't, I think that says a lot about the topic I did want to talk about today. Which is, in the context of these National Guards being deployed to California, and being deployed to DC, and I'm sure they'll be deployed to other cities too. Probably New York soon, because, like New York City, because Zohran Mamdani and his victory there is quite upsetting to Trump. Seeing a so openly socialist, anti-capitalist, anti-Zionist Muslim leading New York City suddenly has Trump very concerned about the leadership of New York City, even though he doesn't live there and said that it was a crime-infested slum, whatever the hell, liberals, woke Marxists, something or another. But now Trump's really mad because he actually has a progressive-minded person running D.C., or running New York City, rather. Instead of, you know, the prior leaders of D.C., who, all of whom should just, or sorry, not D.C., of New York City and New York. You have Governor Andrew Cuomo running for election year was just absurd. I'm actually baffled that the Democrats are still clinging to this guy. He's not even running in their party anymore, and they're still being stuck up entitled neoliberals. God fucking damn them. Andrew Cuomo, serial sex pest, forced to resign as governor, doesn't even live in New York City, keeps speeding away from his press conferences so he doesn't have to talk to actual reporters after his staged dinners. And again, he doesn't even live in New York City. And this guy, right after the Democrats put in place Eric Adams, who's corrupt and also a shill for Bitcoin and also a sellout for Trump. So congratulations, Democrats in New York. Congratulations, New York Democratic Party and the wider Democratic Party that refused to endorse Zohran Mamdani. Like, Hakeem Jeffries, why the fuck are you not getting involved in this? Just say you like the guy. He's got your party's endorsement. You're supposed to be a party. They're playing it like that one person in D&D that's like, well, my character wouldn't cooperate with anyone else. They're just gonna be like, fine, and maybe, and refuse to attack when they're supposed to. Fuck your character. Get out of our group. Except this is like how 75% of the Democratic Party thinks. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If any conservative came to me and asked for a gun so they could shoot, whether it was Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, I'm giving them it. Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo. Oh, you want $500 so you can buy a gun to shoot Andrew Cuomo? Take my money. I'll decline your hat. but I will fund your efforts if that's what you're gonna do. Why are the only people that have any fight to them the racist Nazi shitheads? I keep on groaning as I watch this happen again and again. Everyone talks a big game, but then the only people actually storming the Capitol are the Trump MAGA losers. I see trans flags and like pride merch and everything. Like 60 furry accounts posting out Molotov cocktails and pipe bombs, and yet when a politician dies, it's always a Democrat. Except for that one, there was one politician in Virginia. It was a local politician who was set on fire in his own office. I don't know the party of that politician because they were a shithead, and that's all I care about. That one I'm glad about. See, the thing is when. And what I said earlier about always being a Democrat, I mean always being like a good, thoughtful, or at least not killed for the right reasons. It's like a Democrat that'll be killed because they're Jewish, or a Democrat that'll be killed or attempted, because the MAGA right-wing loonies come at them, trying to burn down their house with them inside it, or shoot them because they're gay, or because they support gay people, because they're not transphobic, shit like that. Leftists, can we like come together? Can we bring some violence to make it a left-wing thing too? If that's my only legacy, I would be satisfied. If my only legacy is just to make violence a left-wing thing too, that's what I want more than anything else. That's why I make these videos. That's why I post what I post online. I just want to make political violence a left-wing thing too. Because again, there is violence. You're not doing the first violence. I'm just asking you to reciprocate the violence. The alternative is that only right-wingers can act of violence, and so they pretty much always will kill the people that you like, and pretty much never kill the people that you actually really need to kill. And it doesn't even have to be killing them. Let's just scare the politicians. Let's make the politicians answer to us. Let's make the people who support these troops, who support, like Tim Crook, giving that gold statue to Trump.
4 weeks ago. These investments will directly create more than 20,000 brand new American jobs and many thousands more at the Apple suppliers like Corning, Broadcom, Texas Instruments, and Samsung will all deal in that world. As part of this historic commitment, Apple will massively increase spending on its domestic supply chain for the iPhone and will build the largest and most sophisticated smart glass production line in the world in Harrodsburg, Kentucky, which is great. Actually, I did very well there. I like it because I see I did very well there.
I did it very well there, so I like
it.
them.
It's a great place. You're going to be very happy. I thought maybe while we're up, I'll interrupt my own speech by you might show them a little bit about the product that you're going to be doing in Kentucky, Tim. Yes, please.
This box was made in the U.S., California, and this glass comes off the Corning lawn. It's engraved with the front. It's a unique unit of one. It was designed by U.S. Marine Corps Corporal that works at Apple now.
Which did very well.
And the base comes from Utah, and it's 24 karat gold, and it sits. I'll take the liberty of setting it up.
Wow.
Well, there we go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's
Thank you so
fantastic.
much. The great people of Kentucky. You're going to find it a great place to do business, too. It's fantastic. Isn't that nice? We're doing these things now in the Kentucky.
Off the Corning line. It was designed by...
I'm gonna hide this again.
And the base comes from Utah.
This
And it's 24
is a
karat
piece
gold.
of gold.
And it sits take the liberty of setting it off.
Wow.
Well,
Play us again. This banner is
congratulations.
perhaps strategically placed to obscure.
The great people of Kentucky. You're going to find it a great place to do business, too. It's,
So I'll
fantastic.
just.
Yes, please.
This box was made.
Oh my God, these banners! What the fuck?
This afternoon, we're pleased to welcome to the White House one of the great and most esteemed business leaders and geniuses and
Yes. Anyways, he got.
I'll take the liberty.
There it is. This is the scene. This is how Apple got an exception to Trump's tariffs. By handing that piece of gold and doing a whole little song and dance with Donald Trump. Does that remind you of anything? Because you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Richard Nixon and his blatant corruption. Now, America, we're not going to let Apple get away with that, right? We're not going to let Apple slime the slimy people of Apple, like Tim Cook. We're not going to let them just slide out of that, right? If we take this country back, we're not just going to let Tim Cook get away and be like, oh, Trump was, the tariffs were mean and I had to protect the business. Because I sure as hell am not. I'm not putting up with that shit. And I will post every single fucking time someone mentions Apple, sends a picture of Apple, I will send that image of Tim Cook giving Trump gold. Every time I will send that. I'm not letting America forget. Because, yes, Tim Cook is just giving Donald Trump what he wants. That is true. But that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse that he felt pressured and he was corrupting a leader that was otherwise gonna hurt his business. You don't get to buy your way out of the corruption by screwing over the rest of us and then treat it as if you're any better. And if Tim Cook, if he gets a pass from the next, he should be held accountable fully for bribery. That should be seen as bribery. He got an exception for Apple from the tariffs, which Trump's instituting, that's destroying every other business, including those that funded his campaign, because Donald Trump. But I don't feel bad for those businesses because they chose to bribe a politician. They chose to support a politician, and the supporting of that politician is in part the reason that Trump was able to get the ads he got, was able to have the funding efforts he got. I blame General Motors and every other company that funded Trump's campaign. I blame them all. And I don't have any sympathy for them. I hope they all get destroyed. Because they sold us out. They sold me out. I'm gonna be dead in a couple months, likely. Because of men like that. Because of people around Trump, including those who aren't political, quote-unquote, until they show up at Trump's inauguration like Mark Zuckerberg did. Oh, he doesn't do politics. He used to be liberal, but he doesn't do politics now. Every time I hear that phrase, I don't do politics, I groan. And usually my fists ball up and then I want to punch you. But I don't do that. Because I have better people to punch. Because ultimately, these are pawns, and I'd rather get the king. But don't think I'm oblivious. Because, quote-unquote, don't do politics. Yeah, that's code word for support the current regime. Especially when you're handing them a piece of gold with your company's logo on it, Tim Cook. And so now we come back to what I originally talked about, the National Guard. National Guard, people, National Guard's soldiers, are just citizens. Most of them have a full-time job, and they get exempted from that job in order to do the National Guard work that they sign up for. And when there's a hurricane or a pandemic, that National Guard's work is keeping people, is shifting through wreckage and finding people, or preventing the spread of the disease and administering vaccines. And when there is a call for the National Guard, federalized by Donald Trump, to occupy the cities of Los Angeles, of DC, New York City, anywhere else, where Boston, perhaps, wherever people are sent by Donald Trump when their National Guard is federalized. Well, when that's what happens, that means that those people from your community are given the call to show up and institute fascism where you live. I watched a video recently by a channel called Parkrose Permaculture, in which the main speaker, and I appreciate her for her constant speaking out against Trump. She said, I'm going to paraphrase this, but that she was concerned for the National Guardsmen's mental health because they signed up in order to help the people of their community, and now they're being told by the people of their community that they're fascists and they're not appreciated there, and being asked to be held accountable. Look at yourselves and look what you're doing. Look what you're doing to us. We don't want you here. And Parkrose Permaculture said that she was concerned for the mental health of these troops. And she cited that there were suicides from soldiers that were asked to walk the southern border. That there was increased self-harm instances among these troops. Let me put that in common words. The people feel guilty. And that's good. They should feel guilty. They should feel guilty if they choose to institute fascism against their own citizens. I know that they have a contract. I know they have an obligation, but they can turn that obligation down. You have a choice. These are not citizens who've plugged their Neuralink instance into the government. The government isn't remotely activating itself on these citizens. These are people who have autonomy. If they choose not to use it, and they feel guilty as a result when everyone tells them, we hate you, when their family says, you shouldn't be here doing this, shame on you, when their father looks them in the eye and says, shame on you for this, they should feel guilt. And if the soldiers are given the order to shoot that man in the head, and the soldier does that, and then goes home and cuts themselves because they feel bad for shooting their own father, who was peacefully expressing his disappointment, they should feel bad. You should feel bad. You should feel guilt. But more than guilt, you should do something different. You don't get points from me for feeling guilt. You get points from me for doing something, for saying something, for joining me in calling this out and holding society accountable and saying, we will not forget. We're not going to let the Democrats just dust off what happened and move along as if Tim Crook isn't directly aiding and abetting Trump's campaign, as if General Motors didn't directly support this regime. Yes, everyone who funded and stood by Donald Trump, even if it was only to get a better business opportunity, they should be held accountable. They should be charged with bribery. They should be charged as an accomplice to every crime that Donald Trump and the Republicans and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk commits. Everyone. You don't get a pass from me because there was no easier option. Just because you wouldn't go out of your way to kick a person, just because you wouldn't go out of your way to kill a person, to destroy something, doesn't mean that you get a pass because it was in your way, because it would have been an inconvenience to not do it. And how we can, as a society, try to justify the actions of men like Tim Crook, who are billionaires, who are just happily cozying up to Trump. Yes, you're right, they probably would face some repercussions if they didn't, like the tariffs. So, are we not facing repercussions? I'm facing repercussions, and I didn't even vote for this. I didn't give Trump any gold, and I'm facing repercussions. I'm miserable. Every day I wake up and I look at my life and I say, I hate what this is. I'm disappointed in the world that I have around me. This isn't what I fucking wanted. This isn't where I thought I'd be 3 years ago. After 3 years after that. Do you know how many people I've cut off because they've supported bigotry or had views that were harmful? Don't compromise on your own morals to win the approval of people who wouldn't spare you a second thought before they run you over, just like Tim Crook and Donald Trump and Republicans are running over people, immigrants, legal immigrants. I mean, Stephen Miller said himself, your status will not protect you from ICE deportations. Don't waste your breath if you're trying to defend the man here who's a part of the scheme that will have you disappeared off into a mystery camp the moment that you speak out against him. So yes, the soldiers should feel bad. Every moment that they're deployed in the city, even if they're not shooting people, their presence is sending a message, and they should feel bad. They should feel ashamed. They should feel mortified. They should feel guilty. And that guilt should inspire them, and inspire others around them to not do the same. You should change, even when it's hard. Even when it means putting your life at risk. That's the kind of actions that we need right now. Men and women and people, like Nicholas Winston, like Oskar Schindler, who put their own lives at risk. Because yes, to fight fascism, you need to put your own life at risk. Fascism is oppression through the law. They just they write out any legal ways of fighting back. That is at the core of fascism, is destroying the actual methods you have to fight back within their law. And it's done largely by one of the first things they do is they have a oppression force that doesn't need to use the law, it doesn't need to use the courts, where you could argue that your dissent was free speech and wasn't even against any of the current laws. Well, they just rip you out anyways. That's the truth that I need Americans to say and to internalize and to feel and understand. No one is safe under fascism. Your tweets, even if you delete them, can be used against you to declare you an enemy of the state. Just you walking and looking the wrong way can be used. Yeah, they don't need a reason. They could just come in and sweep in through your home and just take you. Maybe they got the wrong person. Maybe they don't care and the officers just need to have an arrest, so they're going to call you a Marxist and say that you said ACAB, and maybe you did and maybe you didn't, but it doesn't matter. They're going to rip you off the streets anyways. That's what fascism is. That's what fascism... That's the danger of fascism for you. And when you hear that poem, first they came for the communists, and they came for the socialists, and they came for the political dissenters, the Jews, and then they came for me. When you hear that poem, that's what they're talking about. Or that's the plea for those who have no more compassion that they can spare. Even if you are devoid of compassion for the people suffering, they're gonna come for you. In America, what I'd say it is, first they came for the Palestinian protesters, and then they came for the trans people. Then they came for the Hispanic illegal immigrants. And then they came for the legal immigrants. That was illegal, not illegal. And that's where we are right now. You know what's next? Well, given that Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, there was a report from CNN about a man named Doug Wilson who founded this church. They have over 100, I think it might be close to 200, maybe over 200 churches throughout the nation who preach extreme misogynistic Christianity. And I actually probably should just play the CNN article, a video, and I will after this. Pete Hegseth is a member of this church, and he's also the leader of the White House prayer sessions, which they now have under Trump, and the defense military prayer service. So you can bet Hegseth is pioneering that shit. Doug Wilson, who preaches extreme Christianity in which women would be subservient to the men they're married to after being subservient to the men that control them. And that is how women will be in Pete Hegseth and Doug Wilson's worldview. And I just, by the way, a man named, his channel is Hawkpodcasts. I'm going to link that in the description too, because I've watched all of his videos and he says exactly what I say. And right now, in relation to a anti-gay marriage thing that's going through the Supreme Court, Hawkpodcast said he's willing to take this to the street with weapons, and that's my favorite. Yes, go off and say these things. For God's sake, let's just say what we're feeling. Because the first step, and there's a reason I'm doing this, right? People who call me a slacktivist, people that say I'm quote-unquote crashing out or whatever. I mean, fuck you, because half of you aren't even Americans. Why the fuck are you on my channel complaining about the shit I put here? Anyways, I'm trying to say these things because I don't even see people saying them. I'm saying what needs to be said here, which is that we're going to have to use physical violence. I'm the only person that says this sometimes, and so every time I hear someone say I'm willing to take to the street with weapons or something like that, we're preaching for Luigi Mangione, who may or may not be the killer of Brian Thompson. I don't think he is. But the idea being that you'd support whoever did kill Brian Thompson. Thank you. Yes, we need a class war, because there is a class war. It's already happening. We need to fight back in the class war. Apple's fighting us. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta's fighting us. Jeff Bezos is fighting us. Warren Buffett says there's a class war and we're winning that war, referring to the rich people winning that war. There's a class war. We are in a war right now. Act like it.
On a mission to make the United States a Christian nation and the entire world a Christian world. Over the decades, he's built an international network of more than 150 churches. And last month, he opened a new one just 3 blocks from Capitol Hill, with the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, attending the service. Pastor Wilson preaches a strict interpretation of the Bible. He believes women should submit to their husbands and not have the right to vote. In his view, abortion, homosexuality are criminal. He's been on the fringes of the religious right for decades, but now finds more of a mainstream Republican audience.
Yeah, because that's because everything's moved to the right.
Christchurch senior pastor Doug Wilson makes no apologies for his beliefs on God and country.
I'd like to see the town be a Christian town. I'd like to see the state be a Christian state. I'd like to see the nation be a Christian nation. I'd like to see the world be a Christian world.
And now Wilson's controversial views as a Christian nationalist are gaining sway in the nation's center of power with the recent opening of his new church and high-profile parishioners like Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Is planting a church in D.C. part of your mission to try to turn this into a Christian nation?
Yes. So every society is theocratic. The only question is who's Theo?
Who is
in
the
a
God?
Secular
The
democracy, it would
or
be
who's the
Demos,
belief?
the people. In a Christian republic, it'd be Christ.
Well, what would you say
Christ
to
doesn't want
someone
you doing
watching
this,
this and say, look, I'm a Muslim. Who are you to say your worldview is better than mine, that your God is better than mine?
Well, if I went to Saudi Arabia, I would fully expect to live under their God's rules.
But you said earlier that you want this to be a Christian world.
Yes.
So you want to supplant their religion with your Christian?
Yes, by peaceful means, by sharing the gospel. There's a lot of work.
Sharing the gospel
yet to
with the
do.
military, then
I
having the
believe
military
that
do the
we
fighting, of
are
course.
Working our little corner of the
It's like the Crusades.
Wilson's little
The Vatican
corner,
didn't,
a
the priest
picturesque
didn't, the
campus
Pope didn't
nestled
fight.
on the outskirts of downtown Moscow, Idaho,
He just
is
diplomatically
growing
got other
by the
people to
day
fight.
with thousands of like-minded Christians.
Could you imagine?
Parishioners of his
Imagine
church,
for a
known
second
as
growing up
Parkers, own and
under this
operate
belief.
several businesses.
And I will tell you that that is the reality for many girls and women. This is why I'm so passionate about this. Because I've heard and seen from people raised as girls under these evangelical or extremist Catholic views. And you know what? I've been pretty open about my Catholic upbringing too. It's not fun. It's not fun being... At least my parents were incompetent. That's the one thing I'll say. I'm very grateful my parents were incompetent, because if my parents actually had the knowledge that is being shared with parents now about technology and whatnot, I would have had literally no social interactions at all until I was fucking 19 and kicked out of the house outside of school, which I'm surprised I was even allowed to go to a normal school because they constantly whined about wokeness and whatever. But yeah. Anyways, they're not. They didn't use the word woke. They communist and liberal and whatever. Satanic was the big one.
Downtown, next to liberal college town stores.
If it's true,
Why did he yell boo? Because
because of me.
of you.
Yeah. Well, you have. There you go.
That's a regular day for you.
That's not unusual.
A big focus of his Christian movement is on a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are expected to submit to their husbands.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
There's a part of me that wanted to make a joke there. I'm going to shut that off. So he thinks that women shouldn't just be made to produce babies, they should be made to produce and raise babies and take care of the man in the home. That's what he thinks. Just to be clear. He says, oh no, I don't just think, in response, because I want to highlight though.
Here to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No.
Her questions are very good. She asks, I've watched this video a couple times before the stream, and she asks really good questions to this man.
It doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4
So
or
he
5
thinks that women should
eternal
be
souls.
I'm
birthing
here
and raising.
as a working journalist, and
Yeah.
I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that
Good
an
question.
issue
No.
for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
not automatically an issue. See that one? And that's code word, because if you've ever talked to Mormons or evangelicals or Catholics that have tried to have their own businesses or whatever, usually the way that's proposed, the man makes all the ultimate decision. The man has control legally of the business. The man has the final say and can override the woman at any point, but she's allowed to have her role in that. And it seemed like, oh, well, back in the old day, women would like weave baskets and sell them at the market, but the money went back to the man. And if the man didn't want her doing that, then she didn't do that. In other words, they want you to be a servant. They want women to be a servant to the men. And you can bet that these same people that don't want independent women have zero patience for homosexual relationships or for trans people. In fact, I'm pretty confident that with the new executive order, trans people are going to be deemed as having a mental illness, perhaps homosexual people also. And they're gonna, gender dysphoria is in the DSM. It could, in the DSM-5, they could rip people off the streets right now if ICE or whoever the secret police was, or the normal police was given the order to find trans people and arrest them. It could happen right now.
Josh and Amy Prince, along with their 4 kids, moved here from Washington State.
Do you see Amy as your equal?
Yes and no, in the sense that we're both saved by grace. We're absolutely on equal footing, but we have very different purposes, God-given.
But do you see yourself as the head of the household, as the man?
He is the head of our household. Yes, and I do submit to him.
So like moving here
I was just
was
gonna say that.
ultimately your decision.
Yes.
That's a great
example.
Wilson says in his vision of a Christian society, women as individuals shouldn't be able to vote. His fellow pastors, Jared Longshore and Toby Sumter, agree.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households. And I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would
Ordinarily.
cast the vote having
Why does
discussed it
he
with my household.
stop padding your
What if there's
language? Just say
your wife
the man
doesn't want to vote
controls.
for the same
Right.
person as you?
Right. Well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that
19th Amendment is what gives women the right to vote, by the way.
the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
And Wilson, a veteran himself, is unapologetic about his view that women shouldn't be in certain leadership or combat roles.
Looking at the leadership page for Christ Church, it's all
White men.
Do
All
you
white
accept
men.
women in leadership roles in the church and government?
In the church, no.
Why?
Because the Bible says not to.
Well, that's not what happens in the Bible. Women do lead all the time.
Progressive faith leader Reverend Jennifer Butler is concerned
Fuck
about
the Bible.
Wilson's
Make a new
growing
Bible.
influence.
He is rapidly gaining in power. He has hundreds of churches established around the country. They actually literally want to take over towns and cities, and they have access to this administration.
Wilson is part of a broader Christian nationalist movement making inroads with the Trump administration, with a newly created faith office led by evangelical pastor Paula White Cain, and people seen right outside the White House entrance praying and speaking in tongues.
We are standing on the soil of the White House, and we are declaring your word.
I'll pray.
And now there's a monthly prayer service at the Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the others.
And as Wilson grows closer to the mainstream, the critics are also getting louder, accusing him and other Christian nationalists of wanting to create the dystopian world from The Handmaid's Tale.
That they do.
Something he insists has never been his goal for society.
I'm not a white nationalist. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a racist. I'm not a misogynist.
How far off do you see a Christian?
I don't hate women. I just want them
full-on
to submit to me.
Christian theocracy.
Oh, 250 years?
250 years.
Yeah, honestly,
That's
yes.
what you see. But you do think it will happen?
Yes, I do. We're not going to usher in anything ourselves. We're really genuinely pioneers.
John, we reached
I have
out
a
to
book
the Defense
that's
Department
6,000
to better
years old.
understand the relationship
Revision 2,000
between
years ago.
Wilson and Hegseth. And a DoD spokesman said that Hegseth is a, quote, proud member of the network of churches founded by Pastor Wilson. And he also said that Hegseth, quote, very much appreciates many of Mr. Wilson's writings and teachings. John?
Anyways.
Thank you so much.
We watched the whole thing, and it's just the same. There's absolutely nothing unique at all about him, about any of the men who belong to his church. The fact that, you know, what they demand of women and girls, it's the same fucking shit that every hardcore fundamentalist branch of any religion does. And you know, it's these weak, dickless, powerless, quote-unquote men who demand that women and teenage girls submit to them as they're the head of the household, and blah, blah. They do it so they can have sex with kids.
Yep. They do it so they can have sex
Period.
with kids. It's all about fucking kids.
They do it so they can have sex with children. So they can marry 13-year-old little girls in the name of God.
Under the authority of their
and that
parents.
makes it holy.
Or the citizen of their
That
parents.
makes it sanctified or whatever. They do all of this.
This so they can fuck kids.
I don't care what religion it is. Because it's present in every single fucking one of them. Tell me it's not.
And so
They
their wives
all
can't leave
do
them.
this so they can have sex with children.
They all do this so they can have sex
in
with
the
children.
name of God.
In the
whatever
name
their
of
God may be.
their pastors. Donald Trump, expert child fucker.
Go watch that segment from that perspective.
Yep. And I'm curious what he's saying here.
It's Tuesday morning, about 10:30 a.m. West Coast time. Donald Trump is still a convicted felon, 34 felonies on his record. He's an adjudicated rapist who still owes the state of New York about $600 million for a decade's worth of fraud between he and his sons in the Trump organization. He still owes E. Jean Carroll almost $90 million. The list goes on and on and on. It's being reported now that he's going to create like rapid response teams with U.S. military personnel to respond to civil unrest, to protests anywhere in the United States. He had the power to do that during his first term. He didn't give a shit about massive protests, civil unrest, and insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th, 2021.
It was his people.
He didn't deploy anybody on that day.
Because it was his people. Because they were his people.
And
look at that.
He's going to turn the United States military against Americans who go out into the streets and protest against him.
Yep.
He is desperate for blood in the streets. He campaigned as a no new wars president. He has absolutely no appetite for using the United States military overseas. He is absolutely desperate to use the United States military against American citizens on U.S. soil. And we are heading into a new phase. And, you know, I've just kind of started thinking about this morning because the protests that I've been to this year here in San Francisco and the Bay Area have had literally zero law enforcement presence. I think largely because they were predominantly white people. That's about to change. That's about to change dramatically. And I'm going to give some more thought to this, and I will do more videos about this. Please do. I think it's realistic at this point for people that are out protesting
to be armed, to be ready.
We need to be prepared to get arrested and prosecuted.
And free your fellow arrested
if we're going to be out in the streets protesting. I'm still going to be out in the streets protesting. And that's a very unpleasant thought because it's not going to be like getting picked up, you know, by some rogue cops during the summer of 2020 during the BLM protests. You're going to be confronted with members of the United States military. How those guys are going to react, I have no idea.
I'd be prepared to not be arrested. I would not let you, do not let them take you. And this is just a general thing I'm going to say to all Americans. If you see someone getting arrested, you see a protester getting arrested, do not let them take that man or woman or person. If you see a trans woman, if the cops pull up to a woman and you think that, if the cops pull up to a woman or a man and just hop out of the car, do not let them take her. What am I saying? I'm saying you use force. Free your arrested civilians. You don't necessarily get caught for doing that. Listen, look at it this way. If the cops take that person who you saw doing nothing wrong, if you want to go up and just ask them first, see if they give you an answer. Nah, don't give them the heads up. That just makes it easier for them to shoot you. You are in a war, America. Be prepared to fight. And if you probably heard me doing the click clack. That's me saying I'm prepared to fight. But like if I see a trans woman or just anyone and I see a law enforcement officer approaching her, I'm keeping an eye on what's going on there. And I'm following them. And if they put her in the back of a car, or him in the back of a car, or them in the back of a car, to put handcuffs, I'm not going to let that happen. I patrol for ICE agents every week. I try to do it every day. I have actually been really slacking on that because I've been feeling very low. So if you want to leave me a comment, I'd love this. If you want to leave me a comment and give me a little bit of a pep talk or congratulate me, please do. Please leave a comment showing your support. I could really use that right now. This country is draining everything out of me. Every bit of resilience that I have I'm still fighting. But it's mostly out of a promise that I made to myself more than it is actual emotion at this point. I'm only really fighting because I started this fight, and it's mostly stubbornness keeping me going. Stubbornness and a hope that one day we'll look back on this and we'll say, holy fuck, 2025 was a crazy time. And hopefully we'll be in a place where none of us have to ever talk about this again as a thing that we fear happening again. We can only talk about it in, or not we can only. I'm not talking for censorship, but I mean, people mostly think of this as a never again moment as opposed to a vote for the Democrats so this doesn't happen again thing. And I hope we don't have the Democratic Party or Republican parties in 12 years. I really hope that both of them fall apart. I do gotta do those gate jumps still. I also gotta turn on my volume again. So what's the takeaway here? Two things. First off, we're living in a war. We are, right now, in the United States, in a war against the government. The government has declared a war on us. They're ripping us off our streets. They're sending us abroad to camps of which they say we'll never return. Whether we're still alive or not is entirely a different question. Remember this. Think of this. We saw a foreign-acted genocide from Israel against Palestine being enacted for years, and decades, and the world did nothing. We are right now in America entering another genocide. The United States of America is going to go through a genocide, a Holocaust. We are going to have people die. And the sooner we start fighting, the fewer people will get killed in the end. If we win, the sooner we started fighting, the better. And if we lose, well, the chances of us losing go up. With every single person that we let get disappeared, and of which we go to our representatives instead of to our armories in retaliation, in response. And I didn't even leave that there for this video. I am fucking ready. Every moment, I'm ready. I just hope that other people start fighting alongside me. Because from what I've seen the last couple of years, people talk a whole tough game. And I believed them. I took them at their word. When they said joked up pipe bombs and Molotov cocktails and shooting transphobic politicians, I believed them. Now we're at the point where I would love to be hearing that same rhetoric. And I'm really missing that. I'm really missing hearing about shooting transphobic politicians and burning down buildings. Now, there were a fair number of Tesla protesters, and what? I applaud all of those. I applaud the people that shot the ICE detention center. I applaud those who shot through the windows of that Tesla factory, you know the one. And for all of the people that are going out and vandalizing Cybertrucks in store or out. You want to show the government and show the people in your nation that there is a standing, active, ready force that is willing to fight back against fascism. That's why you do this. That's why I want these actions. That's why I want people talking about Luigi Mangione and glorifying that violence. I'm not the type that thinks that this is a funny thing to joke about. I don't enjoy the last couple months. I have not really been happy at all. And I've been mostly cycling through grief and empowerment. Because I want change. And I want a better future for us. I want a better future for you. I will say this also, and something I want to highlight. There have been a high uptick of I.E.D. incidents, improvised explosive device. People who attempt to make or attempt to use improvised explosive devices. There's been a high increase in the number of arrests for that. It's not something the media often reports on because they fear copycats. After Ted Kaczynski, the most notable of those, perhaps the Columbine shooters might be more notable, but I feel like a lot of people who talk about the Columbine shooters don't know they actually had pipe bombs. Ted Kaczynski, though, he was smart enough to make a bomb, many bombs, and he was determined enough to send them out, and he actually evaded for a long period of time. It was only through the handwriting of his note, because his fucking family sold him out, too. Fuck you to Ted Kaczynski's family. Recognizing his handwriting. Fuck you for that. Although I'll tell you this much, if I ever make a bomb, I mean, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I have a solution to that, but I'm not going to fucking say it. Just consider ways that you might be able to replace your handwriting and not show your own handwriting. At least to a degree that your parents or family might recognize it on TV. If it's shown on TV. What's the song? 'Cause you got everybody calling, but I know that you're calling after me. Okay, I'm gonna have to keep that because I'm doing gate jumps. Alright, sorry for my singing. That gets immortalized now on the internet. Yay. Oh, yay. I feel like if we all survive this, 15 years from now, some kid might join the ironic community. Hyperfixate on these videos for some reason. Just take a couple of funny clips from it and put it in like some fan boss. I can see that happening. You know what? If a kid wants to do that, I'd fucking help him do it too. I need to resend it to Game Dev again. I miss it. That'd be funny enough that I'd find it amusing, but it's also related enough to current ongoing events that I wouldn't feel guilty about diverting my attention to that. So standing offer, I guess. Put that out there with grok avoidance and things that I told you could do that I might have to explain to some people who don't pay attention to my YouTube channel, because no one ever pays attention to my YouTube channel. I have like 15 videos that ever got over 100 views. Anyways, it's not about my YouTube channel. I shouldn't have gone on a tangent. My point with the I.E.Ds was... My point there. The media is suppressing that news, but it is true, and you can find it if you look hard enough. Mostly from local news sources. So, I have a little bit of faith that we might see an I.E.D. attack in the near future. I have a fair bit of confidence that it would be done by a leftist and not by MAGA. In fact, I don't think MAGA has the desire right now to do a planned attack like that. The closest I can think of was, I mean, he was not MAGA. He was an alt-right racist, but the man who shot Donald Trump was not MAGA. Thomas Matthew Crooks. His last name is Crooks, which is funny because I've been calling Tim Crook out on his crookery, but this man is arguably more of a patriot. Well, thank you for watching. I don't know when I'll be back to do this, but it'll probably be when something new drops. I think the soldiers in DC is another. It is another Rubicon. Forget the I think. It is another Rubicon's been crossed. This is the second insurrection, or not insurrection, martial law attempt. It's an insurrection. And if you or someone you know is a troop, a National Guardsman or woman or person, be different. Stand up for us. You are in the most advantageous position to do that. If you feel guilty because of what you do, because of the orders you follow, fight back. Yes, you may be breaking the law by doing. You're breaking the law by refusing to follow the orders. But the alternative is you with a gun on our streets threatening us, able to kill us, to permanently disable us. Break the law that'll have you thrown in jail. Military jail, not even like real prison. Step up, and if you have to get thrown in the brig or maybe actually sentenced for breaking your order, do that. Because in the end, the assertion that you were just following orders, it is inexcusable. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that every single person that I find never forgets the men and women and other people. It's men and women. I have not seen any non-binaries that fall under this, but especially if the Democrats forgive them, no. Every single soldier who took part in Donald Trump's orders and did not fight back against him, all of them go to prison, likely for life, if they cause, directly or indirectly, the death of any single person. They belong in prison for life. But we don't run the prisons. So we, the people, do the closest thing that we can do. We can't imprison someone for life. It's kidnapping. But and the moment that the police find out, they free the person. But you know what we can do? You know what we can do for the Tim Crooks of the world, Mark Zuckerbergs, the Jeff Bezos? We can kill them for life. We can take their life away. Permanently. Irrefutably. I mean, we know these men. There's no doubt about it. They're guilty. They're guilty as all fuck. And they'll give you a smug smirk while claiming that they're not political, attending the inauguration of the world's most powerful dictator. The most powerful dictator that the world has ever seen. And America, the reason I think you should do this, no one's coming to save you. You know how the Nazis fell? External pressure. The four most powerful nations in the world. The US, the UK, Russia. I said four. China. Canada, I should have said Canada. That should have been the other one. The Allies. The US, the UK, Canada, and Russia stormed Germany from both sides. America has multitudes more military resources. America has multitudes more people. Hi, call me Marky. Welcome to the stream. Do you have anything related to current world events that you'd like to talk about? Because if so, I'll definitely talk about that. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of finish up my speech here. Because no one is coming to save America. This will be the next live stream genocide. We saw it happen in Palestine from Israel. And when it's the United States against the United States civilians, it is going to again be another genocide broadcasted to the world, which the world will do nothing about. And frankly, it's not the world's job to clean up America's mess. But I don't think the world could stop America if it wanted to. Not with the nukes. Which, of course, Nazi Germany also didn't have. No. things are not going to get... No one's coming to save you, Americans. No one is coming... And the Constitution isn't going to save you. And your life in a prison is going to be multitudes better than what's going to happen on the street if no one fights back. Although, again, if we destroy the current leaders, if you commit crimes to kill the leadership, those crimes can and should be forgiven by by those who restore the democracy. If you shoot Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, let's focus on J.D. Vance and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, that can be pardoned, and it should be pardoned by whoever the next administration is. There is no reason to let these vulnerable bags of flesh and bone rule over us. They're not in indestructible Titan suits. This isn't a game of chess where you have to follow decorum standards, or else you get a punishment worse than if you just lose. The outcome of us losing is us getting tortured. It's worse than death, what they're going to do to us. And the alternative of killing a few people with targeted attacks, individuals directly responsible in this regime, in executing the wills of this regime, in empowering the figures of this regime, those people, they're not going to stop with anything less than actual force. And the government is not going to force them because they are the government. It is not alarmist or reactionary or any extreme view in the context of our current world to advocate for tangible violence against the people who are subjecting us to this torment. And if you go with the alternative route of acting all nonchalant, shrugging and saying it is what it is, where is it going to get you in the end? What's the end goal? So you roll over, you let this country steamroll over us, while calling me an extremist, while saying that violence is never the answer. And then what? Once you've gotten your smug little wisecracks at the left and at the liberals, once you've made your little snarky remarks, gotten your social points for calling someone else out, then what? What are you gonna do when you live in the ruins of the civilization that you were trying to impress? Because all of those points, all of those comebacks, all of those smug little tweets, those simpler things that you cling to, none of them are going to save you. None of them are going to save me. I don't make these videos because I want views on YouTube, or because even the fanging clear. It's not really about the fanging clear. EP culture is an old thing that no one really thinks about in the family community anymore from all I've seen. No, I say this stuff because I want people to talk about this. I want people to say these things. I want people, us people in America, to be normalizing these ideas. This isn't a channel that's meant to be edgy. This isn't a channel that's meant to be dramatic. This isn't a channel that's meant to be winning by any social media metric whatsoever. And frankly, my entire channel is likely going to get deleted in the next couple of months. So please do back up the videos I make. I sure do. And I'm ready to re-upload them when that happens. I want people to talk about these issues, to share these videos, to share these ideas, more so than the actual video. I don't care if you post the video. I do care if you say what I'm saying here. We are not going to stop this with any peaceful protest method, whatever. Fascism will not disappear without being forced to. So whatever position you're in, whatever resources you have, do something about it. Right now. Fight back. That's what I'm going to leave you with today. Thank you. I went a little longer than I had originally intended to.